Hi, well, it's still summertime here in Minnesota. We still get questions about declaring residency in another state. My name is Mike Rogers. This is another segment of 3 Minutes with 360. I'm the president and founder of 360 Financial. We're located on Lake Street, downtown Wayzata. In today's segment, we're going to talk about Minnesota residents and our residency rules. Okay, so after living here for 30 years now, Minnesota is home to me, and there's lots of great things about Minnesota. We have great parks. You know, we have sports teams, at least during normal times. One of the problems with Minnesota, though, is if you retire or pass away here, there's a lot of taxes that you might avoid by living in different states. Okay. The question is, if I left Minnesota, how do I cover my basis to avoid some of these taxes for down the road? Okay. So the first thing you want to look at is the 183-day rule. Okay. Now, this is a very important aspect. Basically, what the Minnesota Department of Revenue says is that if you live here more than 183 days, you are automatically a Minnesota resident, and you have to pay taxes in Minnesota. Okay. Here's where the rub comes in. It's not so cut and dry. It's not so black and white as far as 183 days. The majority of your time has to be spent elsewhere. So let's look at that for a minute, in a scenario where you spend maybe a month living in Arizona, and you spend 5 months living in Florida, and you spend 182 days living in Minnesota. Okay. Now, what the rules would say is that you've actually spent the majority of your time living in Minnesota, therefore you're a Minnesota resident. And so that ties back into the one spot. And so what the Department of Revenue also looks at is your abode or your domicile. You know, and all that is simply where do you live? So two aspects are the most important. Your 183-day rule, making sure you do that correctly, and then having an abode or a structure in that place of domicile. There's 26 rules that you have to follow. We call them hurdles that you have to jump over. Now, technically, there's only 25, but when they came up with them, there were 26. So there's a couple of them that are big ones, and I won't go on all of these for you. But, you know, where you're registered to vote, where you have your driver's license, you know, those are things that will really determine your residency. Of course, the location of that abode or your domicile, you know, if you're saying that you're located in Florida, you need to actually have a place in Florida that you're living in, okay? They also look at ownership of other properties, you know, and so what I mean by that is, do you still have the cabin in Brainerd, and you have the house here in the Twin Cities, and you have a small place in Fort Myers? We'll look at the value of those and potentially determine if you're really a Minnesota resident or a Florida resident just based on the value of those properties. One that comes up all the time is your fishing and hunting license. Here in Minnesota, we get a discount on our license if we are Minnesota residents. So if you're going to renew your license and you want to be a Florida resident, don't check off that you're a Minnesota resident on that application. By the way, we've had a number of clients ask, how about if I have a lifelong license, which is very common here. Okay, lifelong license is fine, doesn't skew your residency towards Minnesota. There's other things you want to look at, like your primary place of worship, where you're making your donations to. Hopefully that gives you a little information on residency, especially if you're thinking of moving to a place that might be a little bit warmer in the wintertime than it is here in Minnesota. In the meantime, thank you for joining us at 3 Minutes with 360, and we look forward to seeing you at another segment.